Here we go. Hey, welcome to At the Track Live. My name is Coach James. I am the creator and lead instructor for All About Aerodynamics. And you might be asking, okay, what is All About Aerodynamics? Well, All About Aerodynamics is a science program where I use Hot Wheels cars to teach kindergarten through 6th grade students about physics, about aerodynamics, about Isaac Newton, about energy, about force, about kinetic energy, potential energy, a whole range of things. After they learn the science, then they get to pick a Hot Wheels car that they think would be fastest in a series of races based on everything they learned in the science part of the program. Now, where At the Track Live comes into play is that I bring in about 450 Hot Wheels cars for the students to pick from. But because I have to be able to keep track of all the cars, I have them numbered and labeled and cataloged. I take pictures of the cars and all of that. So I have to make sure that I can keep track of everything, especially with so many kids running around picking cars, all that. What I have to do is I have to take pictures of the cars, I have to enter them into the spreadsheet, and it's really kind of a boring thing, just something that has to be done. And I figured, all right, how can I make this a little more interesting and possibly interactive? And what I decided was to come up with At the Track Live. So with At the Track Live, I can go through the hundreds and hundreds of Hot Wheels cars that I've purchased, that I haven't opened, that I haven't put into the database yet. And I can have a little bit of fun because I can take them to the track and actually race them. But more importantly, you can visit atthetrack.live. And if you go there, you will see a link that says choose a car. If you select that, it will take you to this page. And on this page, all of the All About Aerodynamics cars that we have are listed here. And you can, let's see, let me move this out of the way there. And then you can go through, and all of the cars that are currently in our database are listed. So when I crack open a new car, and you might go to this page and say, all right, you know what? I think this number 77, this Rocket Fire car, is faster than the car that Coach James just cracked open. Then I will pull out the car that you picked, take it to the track, and we'll have a race and see which car is faster. And we will do that for every car that I pull out. And you can check it out here. We've got a range of different cars. There are mostly these are predominantly mainline cars, which means the sort of basic Hot Wheels cars that you find in the store for, about $1, $1.18, $1.35, $1.50, right in that range. And then there are special cars, character cars, cars that are usually related to some kind of TV show or movie, cartoon character, things like that. So the cars have a theme. And I have some of those. And then there are what are called the fantasy castings, where a designer just comes up with an idea and goes with it. So if we look at this T-Rex Destroyer, I think that's how you pronounce it. They took a dinosaur head and some arm and just and slapped an engine in the middle and threw some wheels on it, and there you have a dinosaur related Hot Wheels car. And I have quite a few like that. The dinosaurs cars came in a set, so I know there's a Stegosaurus car somewhere in there. You have this one, Rigor Mortar, and it looks like a casket, and then they slapped an engine and throw on some wheels. I believe it might be a gargoyle or a bat or something right in the front, but you get the idea. So there's a range of cars, a range of different shapes, styles, colors, everything, and all of that is intentional. I want a range of cars because when the students have to go through after everything they've learned about aerodynamics, I don't want them all picking the same car. And so Lamborghinis are, of course, very popular. There's a few others that students tend to pick, but there's so much variety in the Hot Wheels designs that students are free to kind of take the ideas that they have about aerodynamics and how the air will affect the car when it's moving down the track, and then they make their selection. And in some cases I have multiples, which try not to do, but sometimes can't. It just happens that way. Now no one's ever picked this shaved ice truck, which I applaud them for not doing. But again, whichever car that you want to see on the track is the car that you should pick. So again, you just go to atthetrack.live, find the car that you want to pick, and select it. And that is how we will do that. Now, as far as the actual racing goes, when we are racing, the track view will look like this. So the track is it's about 20 feet long, so essentially a 1/64th scale quarter-mile track. And if you look at the views on the far left side, you will see the start of the track, the first section. The middle camera view is the middle section of the track, surprise. And then on the far right, we have the final section, the last third, and the finish line. Now, the finish line is important because there are two lasers. And when the cars pass through and break the beam, then you'll get a solid red light for a winning car and a flashing red light for the car that has lost. So it's most of the races, it's pretty easy to tell which car won, which car lost, but in some cases it is it's pretty close. So it's good to have a finish line that is that accurate, and that is it. So again, the cars will start in the screen on the left at the top. They'll be coming down toward the bottom. Then you'll be able to pick them up on the middle screen and then slide on over to the finish line. So got that out of the way. So that's the view. The question is, which cars will be racing? So before I get to that, in the last episode, we opened up, we had a character car. And I'll put that up here. We had this car right here. We had this Black Panther inspired character car. And I will put it on let me turn the turntable around. You can kind of get a look at that. Actually, zoom on in a little bit. Boom. So, have the Black Panther character car, and the problem was that it crashed. And we ran it on both sides of the track, and it still crashed. So, what I like to do is, if there's a car that crashes, that consistently crashes, I want to find out why. And with most of these cars, there's usually a very specific reason why they're crashing. Because if we go back and take a look, and I don't know how clear of a view it is, but one thing you might notice with our track is that it's flat. And a lot of the tracks that you see being used to race Hot Wheels cars are gravity tracks. So the cars tend to start off on an elevated surface and then drop down, and then gravity takes over, and then the cars race down that way. Our track is different. Our track, I use a launcher, and I custom designed that so that what I wanted to do was get the maximum amount of force possible to push the cars out and down the track. And the reason for that is because the faster cars are moving, the more that the air impacts them, the more that drag impacts the car. And so the faster the cars are moving, the more force I can exert on the cars at the beginning, then the more of the aerodynamic principles and science topics and physics topics that we learned in the class, the students can observe those. So one important principle is Isaac Newton's third law of motion, that for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction. And that's seen typically when a car is not lined up straight in the launcher. And what will happen is, if it's not lined up straight, it will hit the side of the track. And when it hits the side of the track, the opposite reaction is that it's going to bounce the other way. And then you'll get a scenario where the car is just bouncing back and forth between sides of the track. And you'll see it when it's coming down. It's kind of wobbling and hitting both sides. But then there's also the friction of the car. When it does hit the side of the track, it's scraping against the side of the track, creates friction. And that friction serves to slow the car down. So cars that can be lined up straight and remain straight, or as straight as possible on the track, usually have a better chance of winning their race. But because the launchers are just pushing the cars out, really there shouldn't be a situation or a scenario where one car just keeps crashing. If it does, something's wrong. So kept checking. I mean, that's the whole point, is to go back and check. Usually it means I have to take slow motion video. I do that, and then I can go back and really see what the problem is. So a few episodes ago, we had a 57 Plymouth Fury that kept crashing, and it turns out that the reason why it was crashing is because the bumper actually wrapped around the exterior of the body of the car, whereas most of the Hot Wheel cars, the bumper is flush with the rest of the car. But this had a plastic piece of bumper that wrapped around the frame, or around the body of the car, and because of that, the little corners of the bumper were hitting the barriers on the track and making the car flip and crash. So unless the car stayed perfectly straight in the center of the track, if it drifted over even a little bit, those bumpers would catch the edge of the barrier, the car would flip, and it'd be a disaster, and that would pretty much be that. So, yeah, it's not ideal. But what we had in the next episode, we had an old school Firebird, 84 Firebird that I had from back when I was a kid. And so I had that, and so it's an 80s, I think it's called 80s Firebird. And then I had a newer version that was just made a few years ago that was called the 84 Firebird. And they looked about the same, so I thought, all right, let's have an old school, new school race. Did that, and it turns out that the old school Firebird, the one I had when I was a kid, kept crashing, and it was crashing badly. We went back, took some slow motion video, and saw that it was flying up and off the track and just really didn't have much of a chance to make it down the track. But we'll get to that. Then we had the Black Panther car, which again is this one here. We had it race against the Jeep Gladiator truck, but this Black Panther car kept crashing. And with our race rules, if a car crashes twice consecutively, then it's disqualified and it's out. However, I still wanted to know why it was crashing. So I went back and took a look and checked, and it turns out that for this car, the reason why it was crashing had nothing to do with the car. It was actually my fault, and it had to do with the track setup. So if I pull up the picture, well, let me bring this one up one more time. So you can see that there are camera stands. You can see it in the middle picture, and there are these sort of bendable tripods that allow me to get the camera's position just right so that you can get the proper angles. And there are two that the cars have to pass underneath in order to continue down the track. And what happened is I had, let me bring up this first picture. So this is the view from the track level. So you can see the bendable parts of the tripod and how I have those set up. And then you can see the track, and of course the cars pass beneath there. And typically the cars don't have a problem, but with the Black Panther car, the because of that character head that's popping up, which you can see right here, that head is popping up a lot more. And so this is it was racing this Gladiator, this truck, and you can see how much more the Black Panther head pops up above even the roof of this truck. And this truck is pretty tall. Well, anyway, when I went back and took a good close look, it turns out that this is what was happening. That the Black Panther, the character head, was actually hitting the tripod. And it was happening so fast that I thought there was some other reason that the car was crashing, but it turns out no, it was just this simple. And I went back and I adjusted the tripod so that now the cars can in fact pass through, and that includes the Black Panther car. So because of that, because it was my mistake and not the car's mistake, and not a mistake by the designers, I'm going to give the Black Panther car another opportunity. So we're going to run that race back, the one between the Gladiator, which is, let's go back over here, take this down now. So we had the Gladiator, which is this one that I kept calling the Rubicon because it had the word Rubicon slapped on the side there, and the Black Panther car, the huge character car, the Racerverse car. So I'm going to take these back out to the track and see if the Black Panther car, now that it won't have any obstructions blocking it, we're going to see if the Black Panther car can beat, or at least be competitive with, the Rubicon. Because there's another thing. There's an acrylic cover that I put above the cars when they launch out, because typically there's so much force generated that the cars push up into the air. They hit this acrylic panel and then they bounce back down onto the track. But both of these cars are too tall to use that acrylic panel. So they were racing wide open, just put them in old school style, put them in the launcher, and let it go, see what happens. So that's what we're going to do now. So I am going to take these two cars over to the track, and then we will see how it goes, and we will see exactly what happens. So let me check this. Okay, so far so good. And let's go to the track. Okay, so we're here back at the track. I am going to get both of these cars set up and see if we can get a good race. Let's see. So I'm going to set the Black Panther car is going to be in lane number 1. Looks good. And then take this Rubicon, set that here in lane number 2. So again, both of these cars, there is no cover, so they will be racing just straight down the track. We're gonna see how this goes. Let me just make a quick check of the finish line. Looks like that's all set up properly. So remember, the solid red light on the finish line indicates a winning car, and the flashing red light indicates the loser. So let's see how this turns out. Three, two, one, race. Oh! Yes! Wakanda forever. The Black Panther car. Neither of those cars is going to be breaking any speed records, but the Black Panther car did beat the Rubicon down the track. So now, as per the All About Aerodynamics at the Track rules, we are going to switch sides of the track and then see which car has the ability to knock the other one out. So we're going to go here. Black Panther car is now in lane 2, and the what is this one? The 2020 Jeep Gladiator Rubicon is in lane number 1. So Rubicon lane 1, Black Panther lane 2. If Black Panther car takes it, then it wins, and that's that. The Rubicon's going to have to step its game up, so we'll see how it goes. Three, two, one, race. The Rubicon blasted into the barrier, and that means that we will have to do that race over again, which is fine so long as the Rubicon does not crash a second time, because if it does, two consecutive crashes and a car is disqualified. So it needs to stay on the track this time. The Black Panther car, without any obstructions from the tripod, had a very easy time gliding down the track. So let's see. Let me get these set up again. Black Panther car, now that it's not being blocked. All right, so once again, the Rubicon, the Gladiator, is in lane 1. The Black Panther car is in lane 2. And let's race. Three, two, one, race. Wakanda forever. Once again, the Black Panther car took that race with ease, stayed on the track. So it's actually a good, viable pick for the students. So that car will be getting entered into our database. And let me collect the cars and get back to the desk. Okay, so the Black Panther car, without anything blocking its path, turns out it can make it down the track. It is faster than the Jeep Gladiator, but typically the trucks aren't that fast anyway. Plus, it has the ridges on the tire to replicate off-road tires, so that's also probably not working in its favor. And it appears it's probably a pretty heavy car. And I have a scale here, so let me just go ahead and see how much it does weigh. In fact, it weighs 37.6 grams. And just for, to get an idea of the weight comparison, the Black Panther car weighs 38.3. So the Black Panther car is actually heavier than the Rubicon, slightly, but it is heavier, but it was faster. So those are the types of things that the students would need to think about. Why do they think that the heavier car was faster when typically that's not the case? Usually you want your car, if you had a choice, if I said, hey, you can have a choice and you can have the heavier car, you can have the lighter car, usually you would probably want to go with the lighter car. But that brings us to what happened before. And when I say what happened before, I mean what happened with the old school and new school Firebirds. So we had this, and we kind of went over it. The old school Firebird, well, this is the new school. This is the new one. This is the one that stayed on the track and won. The one that lost, as we looked at the video last time, we saw that it flew off the track, and I might as well. I believe I still have the video right here. Crash. Yeah, this one. Let's see. I think I have it. Maybe I don't. Well, you can take my word for it, or you can go back. If you're on YouTube, you can go back and actually watch the that previous episode, and you will be able to see what happened with that car. Thought I had it. Oh, I think I got rid of the video. Anyway, you can just use your imagination. The car launched out, and it was just flying all over the track. So I thought, okay, let me weigh the cars. And there was about a 6 ounce or so difference in their weight. Let me turn the scale on. Because I don't remember exactly what the weight. So this, the newer Firebird was about 32 grams, whereas the old school Firebird was something like 26 grams. It was significantly lighter. And so I was thinking that, okay, maybe that's why it couldn't stay on the track, because it was so light that the force the launching block was exerting was just forcing it off into the air. So I had the brilliant idea of adding some weight to the car and seeing if that made a difference. So I figured I'd use, some coins. So took a quarter, which weighs just under 6 grams. So I figured, okay, if I can attach a quarter to the old school Firebird, then perhaps I can account for the weight, if the weight is the reason why it was flying off the track. So I added a quarter to the old school Firebird, and this is what it looks like. And so I just used some painter's tape. It's nothing outrageous. Like, I tried not to mess with the aerodynamics too much, but clearly I did, because I could have trimmed that down. But I didn't want to get so much into that until I determined if the weight would help it stay on the track. If the weight helps it stay on the track, but then it's slow, then I could say, okay, well, the painter's tape is creating more drag and it's slowing the car down. So then that would be the issue. But if the weight doesn't even help the car stay on the track, then there really isn't too much point to doing any more refinement. I kind of fooled around with the placement of the quarter. At first I was going to put it on the roof, and then maybe and then I tried on like the back windshield area, but it just seemed like putting it on the hood the way it is there just seemed to be a quick way to kind of determine whether or not this would even work. So I haven't tested it out yet. Have not tested it out, but by adding the quarter, which we said weighs just under 6 grams, it brought the weight of the old school Firebird, it brought it up to 30.4 grams. So roughly the old school car was about 24 grams, which is pretty light, especially when we talk about the that Black Panther car was just at 38 grams, and the other Firebird is at 32 grams. So what we're going to do is go back to the track and see if this modified version of the old school Firebird, and you can see how similar these cars are. We're going to see if this modified version with the quarter attached, if that additional weight helps keep it on the track. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. It's anybody's guess, because I have no idea. I have no idea. And that is why we go to the track. So let's go. Alright, so I have no idea if this will work. I'll be interested to see, because if it does work, then I will try and make some adjustments to keep this car on the track. So let's see. All right, I'm going to put the old school modified Firebird in lane number 2. And I'm trying to get it as straight as possible. And then this other Firebird, it's not really necessary to race, but I'm putting it in there anyway. So that is in lane number 2, and I am going to use this acrylic cover that ensures that the cars don't fly up into the air. So let's see what happens. Do you think the car with the quarter on the hood is going to now stay on the track? I have no idea, but again, that's why we take them to the track. So let's see. Three, two, one, race. So, in that case, the car with the quarter on it, it actually hit the barrier. And I would let's see. Based on the look of the car, you can see that that part of the tape that I didn't trim off, it looks like it clearly hit and it shifted the car around because it was off to one side. So what I'm going to do is see if I can get that to stay in place. I'm going to tuck down the tape a little bit more and run this back and see if it can stay on, because it didn't fly off, which is what it was definitely doing the last time. It was completely coming off the track. It was just had no shot. It was far too light. At least that's my theory, and that's what the problem was. However, you got to race it to really find out and to know. So let's see here. All right, get these cars lined up again. Get the launcher set. And the funny thing is that the old launcher that I used to have had so the old launcher, it had far less force that it was applying to the cars. And in that case, this old school Firebird was one of the top cars, one of the top Hot Wheels cars that I had. Like, period. Like, it wasn't even close. It was absolutely one of the fastest cars that I raced with my son. But again, this track that I'm using is completely different. I designed this myself with the idea being that I wanted to give the cars more force, get more speed. And I achieved that, but some cars have a hard time with the adjustments. So I'll see. I tried to get the car lined up just right. All right. Looks like it's in there. So here we go. Let's get this race, see if this old school Firebird, which is in lane number 2, can stay on the track this time. Let's go. Three, two, one, race. Ho! It did it. The old school Firebird stayed on the track with the quarter on the hood and actually won that race. So that is, I'm going to say that's a surprise. I'm surprised that it worked. I'm surprised it stayed on the track. And then it stayed on the track and beat the newer Firebird. So it looks like we have an actual race on our hands. So I'm going to switch sides of the track, and then we'll see what happens. Because that was very much unexpected. At least, I mean, maybe you thought it would work. I had my doubts, but you know, we'll see. We'll see whether or not it was a fluke, or if that's just how it's going to be. So I'm going to switch lanes and get this launcher prepared. Get the old school Firebird with the 25-cent modification. Get that lined up. Doesn't want to stay in the blocks, which is sometimes a problem. Alright, got it in there now. It just rolls out. It's so... Sometimes these cars just don't want to stay. They don't want to stay put. It's kind of it's a little balance. You have to get, it has to be in there in a certain way. Otherwise, it is, if it's not pressed right up against the starting block, then it is going to get punched instead of pushed. And that's when we usually see the cars fly up into the air, something strange happen. But all right, looks like they are lined up, ready to go. We've got the old school modified Firebird in lane 1 and the new school Firebird in lane number 2. So let's see what happens. Three, two, one, race. Oh! And the modifications proved to be the difference, because the old school Firebird took that race as well. It was close, and I'd have to go back and look at the video, but clearly the modification worked. So the old school Firebird is now back in the mix as one of the fastest cars, or at least faster than its newer competitor. So that's interesting. So I'm going to collect those cars, head back to the desk. Okay, so that was, I'm going to say, that may have been one of the most shocking results that I've seen so far. And I'll bring up this view. This is the car, and the change that I made from that first race when it crashed is, all I did was I just tucked in the tape, like right in the front, like right in this area, right there. I just tucked that tape in a little bit so it wasn't flaring out, and that was it. And I don't know what this means kind of going forward, because if the students decide they want to pick this car, I don't think it's fair to allow them to modify the car knowing what I know. Or maybe they go back and they watch this episode and they say, oh, I'm going to pick that car, I'm going to put a quarter on it with some tape, and I'm going to be good, because like this side is still popped out. I tried to press that down, but it was still, sticking out. But it didn't disrupt the overall. I tried to keep the line of the car pretty similar and just add some weight. The problem that if I put the quarter on the back window, then it's almost like it's acting like a sail, and I was afraid that the edges of the quarter would catch air and kind of slow the car down. Another thing I considered was putting the quarter underneath the car, like on the bottom, and attaching it that way. And I think then that would allow the car to even maintain more of its aerodynamic profile, at least on the top. I didn't want to put the quarter again on the roof because it just seemed like there were too many areas where that would again change the kind of lines of the car. And not that this didn't, but clearly there was something to the idea that it was the weight that was the issue. And we adjusted for the weight, and the car won. So I can't wait to go back and look at the video and see exactly how close the race was, and what exactly, like, how big was the gap. Because in the second race, it seemed like the gap was pretty big. It was very clear that the old school car won. But that final race, the third race, it seemed like it was a little closer. But can't wait to go back and look at the tape. So that is part of the thing. That's one of the things that I enjoy doing, that we're going to do at the track live. At the track live is take a look. If a car crashes, why did it crash? And if it did crash, are there changes that we can make that will allow it to remain on the track? Sometimes the answer is yes, there is a change, as we just saw. Other times, like with the 57 Plymouth Fury with the bumper problem, it's just how the car is, and so there's nothing we can do. But at least now we have the knowledge to know what the problem is. So that's great. But it is time to take a look at some new cars that are going to be entered into the database. So since we've started at the track live, let's see. What number are we at? We are at, let's see, if we go all the way down, take a look at all the cars, we are at number 454. So that last one, these will, yeah, there they go, will pop in. And there's actually a few more cars. I just haven't added them in. And that would include the Black Panther, the Racerverse car, the Jeep Gladiator, this Subaru, this hatchback, the Subaru WRX STI, and then the X-Steam, which was this very low-profile fantasy casting car. Okay, so now the total number of cars is up to 458, and it is going to increase because we've got a few more here. Now there's a store that I go to sometimes, and they sell a lot of they use books, use DVDs, use video games, and use toys and collectibles. And while most of the stuff they have is anime related, they do sometimes have Hot Wheels. And I went in yesterday, and it turns out they had a few Hot Wheels, and they're usually way overpriced. Sometimes they're charging $5 per car, and it's not like they find a rare car or a treasure hunt or something like that, it's just a whatever car they happen to get in, they just slap the same price on. So they have two branches, and at one branch they just put $5 on every single car, and that includes some that were still available in. You could go to Target or you could go to the grocery store and find the exact same card for about $1.20, something like that, and they had the nerve, they were selling it for $5. So usually I just take a look, and I maybe, if it's really a car that's just very unique and I haven't seen in a long time, then I'll pick it up, even if the price is a little higher than I would like to pay. But yesterday when I went in, all of their cars were marked at $3. They didn't have very many, but I did pick up a couple, and those are the two that we're going to get into. Those are two of them, and so this is one of them. And it's funny because you can tell they're old. Aside from the package design, the plastic is just kind of yellowed, and I think what happens is, who knows, people just are going through their garage and come across this stuff and decide, I don't want these, and I'll just take them and get some money for them. So this one is, and the package is all dirty, which is, fortunately, I'm not someone who likes to display their Hot Wheels in the package, and I'm going to be cracking this open anyway, so the condition of the package doesn't matter to me. But this car is from 2000, so this is a 23-year-old car, and it is, the name of the car is the Evil Twin, and I think I have one of these, but slightly newer version. So let's this thing is really dirty. I'm gonna need to wash my hands after this. All right, so let's crack it open. All right, now the package was pretty grimy, but the car itself, I like this. This is a good looking car. That dusty, dirty package didn't really help show it off all that much. Let's hang on, let me get it lined up here on the turntable. Go to this view. I'm going to have to shoot videos of all these cars, so I'll be doing that. Yeah, this is a good looking car. I like this. It's got the Spectra Flame paint, which I don't know if it's clear so much. Let me do this, add a little bit of light, and maybe you can see the kind of sparkling effect that's on there as it spins around. I'll just add this in while it's rotating. This was the Evil Twin, and I will double check the year on the bottom of this car. Yeah, this is a good looking car. I don't think it will be all that fast. Perhaps if we raced it backwards, that might be a little more beneficial. Oh, you know what? I think I am going to have to. I didn't lock in. See, always got to remember to lock in the focus, and then before I take the video. Otherwise, won't get a clear view. But yeah, you can kind of, as it goes around, you can see the paint, kind of see those details. I don't know if it's not really translating on the video, but it's got kind of a sparkly effect and quality. You got the little pinstripes down by the rear fender. Got the Hot Wheels vanity plate It almost has in the back kind of a surfboard look to it right there. And so I think this, see, this might be one of those cars that, and I mentioned before that there are a few that when they are turned around backwards and put in the launcher, they actually perform better. And it's not very many of them, but this might also be one. Also because the back part of the car is so small, it comes to that point that when it's pushed up against the launcher isn't going to have much to push against in order to get the car that momentum. So it may have to go in backwards for that reason alone. And now I also need to get a still picture. Let me stop the turntable, rotate the car around, and get, it's definitely a long car. I don't need 2 times zoom, but you definitely need to zoom in just a little bit. About right there, bring it in a little more. That looks pretty good, if I do say so myself. Try to get a little extra light on there to show off that paint job. Lock in my focus. Got that. Bang. All right, got a good looking car right there, the Evil Twin. And let's take a look. Let me double check the year on this car, and yep, 2000. Casting from 2000. I really like that. Why it's, no, it doesn't seem, well, I guess we'll see. It seems to be kind of wobbling back and forth when I just pushed it on the desk, but that doesn't mean anything because the wood on the desk could be uneven. However, here, I'll put it on here. You can see. Go back here. So it's kind of, it wobbles back and forth, which most Hot Wheels don't tend to do. It may have something to do with the fact that the wheels are pretty, it's hard to see. Get some light in here. So with the wheels, you can see that they are, again, they're inside the body of the car, where most Hot Wheels, if you look at, say, this one, you see that the wheels tend to be flush with the exterior. This is tough to do. Like right there, you see that they're pretty much even. Whereas with this Evil Twin, the tires are set. They're set inside, and that's not good for the cars that race. And we'll see what the results are. Oh, I get it. Evil Twin. So it's got these twin turbo engines. So I get it. Evil Twin. All right. So we picked up that one, and then I also picked up another, which is the Chevy Pro Stock truck, which is this one. And this one, you can really see that this was sitting in somebody's, I don't know, garage or some box out in the sun, because this is completely, the plastic is all yellowed and tinted, and it's also pretty dirty. But again, we're taking them to the track. We're not trying to keep them mint on card and hang them on a wall. That's fine if that's what you want to do. Not what we're trying to do. We are going to crack these things open, take them to the track. So this is another one that I believe is from 2000. Yeah. And let's let's see. We're going to crack it open. Oh, this one. All right. This is another good-looking car. It's got the wheelie bar and everything. Hang on, let me get it on the platform. We can take a closer look here. Let's get this thing rotating. Take a look. That is not a bad car at all. Let me get this video ready. Shoot the video. It's going a little fast. Let's get it lined up right there. Get that video locked in. Get some extra light on it. And let's go. Let's take a look at this. The Chevy, what did I say was the Pro Stock? Chevy Pro Stock truck. So that will be number 460. The Chevy Pro Stock truck. It's got the wheelie bar in the back, which for a drag truck, that's important. But on our track, it's important because, again, the force, a lot of the cars like to go up into the air. This is interesting. I was going to say the problem with the wheelie bar is similar to the problem that I mentioned with the other car, is that if you have to put it against the launching block, and the launching block doesn't have much surface to push against, then you're not necessarily going to get the best launch. However, the interesting thing is that I was afraid that the wheelie bar was going to stick out so much that the launching block would only be pushing against the wheelie bar. So again, a small surface. But then I noticed that this wing in the back here extends out almost even with the wheelie bar. So what's going to happen is the launcher is going to be pressed right up against there, and it's probably going to push more against this surface of the wing, this big wing, than it will the wheelie bar. And so that might give it a bit of an advantage. And then this is kind of unique. I know there are, especially on the drag cars, this tends to be a thing, but you have larger wheels in the back, smaller wheels in the front. How much of a difference will that make? I do not know, but it is certainly something to keep in mind. And let me zoom in here a little bit so we can get this picture. This is a good looking car. If this is indicative of what the cars looked like in 2000, yeah, those designers were doing some good work. So let me get a good angle here. Lock in that focus. Put a little bit of extra light on that thing so we can really accentuate it. That looks good. Let me turn it just a little, trying to get a little bit more of a 3/4 view for the students so that they can get a better idea of what the shape of the car is. All right, and this is also for there's an online version of All About Aerodynamics. And so then all the students have to go from are the pictures and the videos of the cars. So I do try to make the pictures and videos, try to give them the angles that will allow them to kind of make some good decisions about the cars that they are planning to pick. All right, so have two cars from the 2000. Let me check the year on this truck, and this is actually got 1999, and here's something else on the bottom. It says 1998 Pro Stock Chevy S10. Okay, so the packaging, and that's the thing, sometimes the packaging has different information than it's actually on the bottom of the car. So all about aerodynamics, we tend to just go by the information that's on the bottom of the car, and that's usually a good way to check that out. So this, they made certain to say it's a 1988. 1998. And I'll have to go in with a magnifying glass perhaps just to make sure that that is a 8 and not a 6, but 1998 Chevy Pro Stock S10, and the year for that car is 1999. That's when this particular casting was made. I like that one a lot, and yeah, I'm hoping it does well. 1999. Nice. So that was number 460. Okay, so once again, if you think that you can pick a car that is faster than one of the cars that I've cracked open, and I have no idea how fast they are, but let's say you're like, I think I can pick a car that's faster than the Evil Twin, that's faster than that truck, then you can go to atthetrack.live, scroll down to where it says choose a car, click there. It will bring you to this page, and you can go through and you can find a car that you think is faster, and of course we will take those cars to the track and race them. Yeah, you might want to pick this hovercraft, number 112, the Hoverstorm. So if that's the car you pick, just take the number, put it in the chat, and we'll take it from there, and we will go to the track and race the cars. So those were two cars that I got, two older cars. Then I told you that I also have hundreds of cars that I bought but I haven't opened and entered into the spreadsheet yet, and haven't added to the website, which is what part of this is all about. So I went into my stash, checked out a couple of those cars, and got those here. So the first one is a, let's see, custom 2001 Acura Integra GSR. So we've got this car here, and let's go ahead and crack this open. All right, so this is a interesting car, interesting coloring on this one. Let me check the year on this one. 2015, and get it up here. Let's take a look at this thing right here. And one of the things I definitely noticed is that the car is it's pretty light. It's pretty light. It's good looking. It's a very abstract design. I guess while I've got it here sitting, I might as well take the still photo. That looks pretty good. focus. Throw a little bit of light on it, just to make sure we're catching all those highlights and details. And snap that picture. Okay, cool. Got that. Switch over to the video. I guess I should have zoomed in with some of the other video, but I did not. And get this turntable rotating. Okay. And then I will take that video, speed blur. Little, start this, lock in my focus. Nice. All right, let's see. So this will be car number 461. And it is the, it was the custom 01 Acura Integra GSR. 01 Acura Integra GSR. Nice. And I believe what's it, 2015 for the year. And that is, it's pretty good. Got that. Letting it come around. It's a good looking car. Yeah, pretty nice. Bringing that all the way around. And, all right, got the video there. Cool, so I can stop that. All right, so now we have that, and then the last car that I pulled out of the pack, let's cut back here, is this is a Magnus Walker Urban Outlaw Mazda Repu, R-E-P-U, Repu. Either way, this is the truck right here. So we've got another truck. So let's take a look at this one and crack this bad boy open. Okay. All right, another good looking car. Let's go ahead and take a look at this one. Get it locked and get it loaded up here. All right, and let's see what we're looking at. Get some light, a little bit more light on it. Lock in that focus and start to record. Take a look at this one. The silver paint job. The decals are a little, this side are a little scuffed, but it's not bad. Hey, it's a pickup truck. It's some kind of racing vehicle of some sort. I don't know that the which category of racing are these custom pickup trucks, but there it is. So this is going to be car number 462. This will be available to be picked within a couple of days. Before we come up here again, I will have added all of these cars to the spreadsheet and to the website. So if you do want to pick those, then you can just go to atthetrack.live, go down to choose a car, and there you go. Pick the car that you want to see us take to the track and race. All right, this one's coming around. Boom. All right, got that. Now I just need to take the still picture, get it turned like that. Seems pretty good. All right, throw a little more light on it. Right there. Okay. Looks good. Oh. Probably be better if I switch the photo. Zoomed on in a little bit. Right about there. That looks good. Got it here. Lock in my focus. And snap the picture. Now it is ready to go into the database, which is great. But what it's also ready to do is to go to the track. So we do need to put these together. So let's see, this is 20. Let's see, what year is this? This looks like it's 2016. And some of these where the bottom is metallic or reflective, it makes it a little difficult to see the if that's a 6 or an 8. I'm gonna go with a 6. I think it's a 6. Yeah. I'm gonna go with the 6. All right, 2016. 2016. So we have, all right, we have the Evil Twin, which is this one. And that's the one that I'm thinking will probably have to go in backwards, I think. Then we have the Chevy Pro Stock, this drag truck. This one I'm really hoping does well. I like this one. Then we have this mainline, this Acura Integra with the wild abstract paint job. We have that one. And then we have finally the Mazda Repu. Okay, so we have that pickup truck. So next thing to do is go to the track and line these things up and decide which car is going to race which car. But I'm gonna take, let's see, I'm gonna take a little break here. It's not quite gonna be 5 minutes, it's just gonna be a few minutes. You can, hey, bathroom break. I'm gonna get some water. And there is another light that I need to plug in. So do that and I'll be back in a moment. Okay. All right. So we are back, and um, we have our 4 cars that are going to be racing one another, and we will see which car is the fastest. So I am going to grab all of these 4 cars, go over to the track, and then we'll see what happens. Because I'm particularly interested in this in the other this pro stock truck. I'm very curious. I really, for some reason, I want this one to do well. But there's only one way to see how it's going to do, and that's to go to the track. So let's go to the track and see what's up. All right, so I'm so interested in this this truck that's how we're gonna start off. We're gonna start off with the truck races. I'm not gonna waste any time. We're going right to it. We're gonna get the trucks lined up. That's the Mazda Repu, and the drag truck. I don't know. I just really think this drag truck, I don't know, something about it I like. I like the way it lines up very well against the launcher, but what I'm noticing is it's significantly bigger than the Repu. But also the Repu has it's a standard pickup truck, but it has a tailgate that's closed, which is giving it a lot of flat surface for the launching block to push against. So that might make a difference. So we shall see. All right, let me get these locked in here. And remember that when we're racing, a solid red light indicates the winner, and the flashing red light, well, that would be the losing car. So let's see what these two do. Three, two, one, race. Woo! Nice, as I had hoped, as I wanted, as I was wishing. The drag truck, that Chevy Pro Stock truck, it took that it took that race by quite a wide margin. I could see from my position at the starting area that was not going to be wasn't exactly going to be a close race. So that's good. Very nice indeed. So let's switch lanes, because that's how we do here at the track live, all about aerodynamics rules, which mean that we want to give each car an equal opportunity in case there's some unknown, unseen advantage to being on one side of the track or the other. Then we want to account for that. Now, one thing I am noticing is that when I put the Pro Stock truck on the right side in lane 2, it's because it kind of flares out at the back, and it's rubbing up against the sides of the launcher just slightly, but it's enough that it's putting up some resistance. So I have a feeling that's going to slow it down. When it's on the other side in lane 1, there is no resistance. There's plenty of room. It's not rubbing against the sides, but this is definitely seems like it's certain to slow it down, because it's just rubbing against the sides, and that friction is something that the cars should avoid if they want to gain speed, make it down the track, and have any chance of winning. So I don't think this is going to bode too well for the Chevy Pro Stock truck. It also is going to make me go back and check the calculations and measurements of the track, because again, I designed this, and the 2 lanes should mirror each other, which means that they should have the same width and amount of space for the cars, but clearly there's a difference. So we'll see how it affects it. The Chevy Pro Stock drag truck is in lane 2, and the Mazda Repu is in lane 1. Three, two, one, race. And it made absolutely no difference. there was some friction with the Chevy with the drag truck, but it didn't prevent it from blowing the doors and the tailgate off of the Mazda Repu. So this truck, I don't know, it was just something about it. I liked the way it looked, and I had a feeling that shape and design might do well on the track. Now we're going to move over to the 2 cars, and this should also be an interesting matchup, because the Evil Twin, if you remember, my concern was that it came down to that point in the back, and that wasn't going to give the launching blocks much to push against. So I'm still not sure what kind of push it's going to get out of the starting blocks. My personal opinion is that it will do better if I turn it around and put it in backwards. But I'm going to start off with it going out the traditional way, forward facing. And this Acura Integra, I will put that in there. And this one is the most standard of the cars that bringing out today, other than the Mazda Repu. So let me slide this cover on. Got that. All right. Time to see what these cars can do. Remember, solid red light indicates the winner, and a flashing red light indicates the second place car, or the loser. And Evil Twin is in lane 1. The Integra is in lane 2. Let's see what happens. Three, two, one, race. Looked good and close, but the Integra just pulled away. But you know, not a bad performance by the Evil Twin. So we'll bring it back, switch lanes, and let them go again. Because that was, I mean, it was a good, solid race. Not really much more or less to say about it than that, but it. Let's see. But I think one thing I will also do is run the Evil Twin. Well, I'll switch it up for right now. Switch up the lanes and see what happens. But that Integra won by such a margin that I don't think that if both cars stay on the track, unless something happens to one or the other, I don't see any reason why or how the Evil Twin can close a gap that big. So, but that's why we race, and we shall see. So let me lock this in, and that. Here we go. All right, let's see what happens with this race. Three, two, one, race. So yeah, something happened. The Integra spun out and crashed. Now, while it did end up pinned underneath the tripod for the camera, unlike the Black Panther car, the tripod is not the reason why the car spun out and crashed. That had to do with, I don't know, it happened so fast that usually I can't clearly determine what the cause of the crash was until after I've gone back and looked at the slow motion video. So let's see here. Get these reset. See. Now the good thing was that the Evil Twin it stayed on the track again. Not that there was a concern that it would come off, but it stayed on and went down. But it's hard to tell. It's hard to tell how well it did beyond just staying on the track, which is kind of a low bar. It's hard to tell how well it did or didn't do unless and until I have another car to compare it to. So even though it made it down the track, if the Integra had stayed on the track, would the Integra still have blown it away? If so, then it doesn't make that last run all that impressive. But again, that is why we race the cars. So here we go. Got them all set up. The Integra is in lane 1. Evil Twin is in lane 2. So far, the Integra has the lead. If the Integra can take a second race, it's always best 2 out of 3. So the Integra will take it. So let's race and see. Three, two, one, race. So the Integra crashed a second time. And if a car crashes twice consecutively, then it gets disqualified. So that means that the evil twin took that contest, took that race. Now, why the Integra crashed again? I don't know. It ended up down at the other end of the track, somehow spinning around and ending up facing backwards. So that's odd. So the Integra lost. It's crashed twice, seemingly in a similar fashion. So I think what I'll have to do is I'll probably have to go back and take some slow motion video to see what the problem is. But it's not helping me because I still want to know, even though the evil twin has made it down each time, because the Integra hasn't made it down, I still have no measure as to how fast the evil twin is. Yes, it's staying on the track. That's props for staying on the track, but that's kind of expected. I expect the cars to stay on the track. What I want to see is, can they be fast? So I'm going to try this again, even though the evil twin has already taken this. If the Integra crashes again in the same way that it's previously crashed, then we'll know something's wrong. There's definitely an issue at hand. So try this again. In lane 2 is evil twin, lane 1 is the Integra. I'm just going to see if we can get the Integra to stay on the track, and so we can get a gauge for how fast or slow the evil twin actually is. Three, two, one, race. There we go. So that race was pretty close, or at least it seemed from my angle. That race was pretty close, but the Integra stayed on the track and beat Evil Twin. However, because it had crashed twice consecutively, it had been disqualified. So that race was really just to gauge how fast or not the Evil Twin actually was. And so there's one last thing that I want to try with the Evil Twin, which is putting it in backwards. I want to see if that makes any difference. Usually the cars that have to go in backwards are going in backwards because going in forward they won't stay on the track, or they've got some design element like a huge strangely shaped wing or rear section that prevent them from going in the launcher the standard way. That's not the case with Evil Twin. If someone picks Evil Twin, it can go in straight up, just as it is. But I would like to see if it can make it down the track. If it can make it down the track backwards, and if there's any improvement in its performance. So I'm going to put Evil Twin in backwards in lane 2. And also, just because of the aerodynamic shape, well, because of the shape, the aerodynamics, because it's so much lower at the back than it is at the front, it's got more of a wedge shape if you put it in backwards, and perhaps the air would have an easier time going over, under, and around the car if it's going that direction. So I have Evil Twin facing backwards in lane 2. The Integra is in lane 1. The Integra has made it, while it's been in lane 1, it's made it down the track once and it's crashed twice. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully it can stay on the track, because again, I just want to get a sense for how fast or not Evil Twin is. So here we go. Let's race these and see what happens. Just have to make another adjustment because when I was getting ready to launch, the Integra rolled forward and pushed away from the launching block, which is not good, not ideal. Just trying to get it in here and get it locked in. But some of these cars just don't want to cooperate. So let's see. Let's see. Because again, the problem is that if the car is not pressed right up against the launching block, then what will happen is the launching block will effectively, it will punch the car instead of pushing the car. And it might not seem like that big of a difference, but believe me, there is a difference. Okay, I seem to have gotten them lined up. If the Integra will stay in place, then we'll be good for this race. So Evil Twin's going backwards in lane 2, and the Integra is in lane 1, hoping to stay on the track. Three, two, one, race. Whew. Okay, so it turns out that the Evil Twin stayed on the track, and it made it a much closer race. I am going to have to go back and compare the two performances, but it definitely looked like the Evil Twin going backwards performed better and made for a closer race. So I'll go back and check the video and see what happens, but let me scoop up these cars, which somehow have both ended up in lane 1. That's strange. How did that happen? I have no idea. Again, that's why we keep this video, because there's always something to go back and analyze. Let me scoop up these cars, head back to the desk. Okay, so that was interesting, because running this car backwards, let me get a better view. Take a look. Zoom out just a bit. Zoom in. So again, the thing that's interesting with this car, the thing that's most interesting to me, is the fact that when it was put in backwards, it actually performed better. And so you can see here what I mean, that when it's going in forward, those two engines on the top, and just the way that it's shaped, especially the two engines, create a potential for a lot more drag. But then if you turn it around, when I turned it around, and now I lost the little plastic stand that I need so these cars don't roll away. There. Put this here. So you can see how if the car is going backwards and you have a situation where the air, its first point of contact with the car is right here, then it should have a pretty easy time following these lines. It's pretty much like a teardrop shape, following these lines up, over, and down. And now when it hits these engines, it's going to cause some trouble. But that's a pretty ideal shape. Now, if they were to take this car, get rid of these two engines, and sort of take this slope from the windshield all the way kind of down, almost mimicking the front, they might have something along the lines of the McLaren Speedtail, which was designed specifically with a teardrop shape in mind, because that is in fact the most aerodynamic shape that there is. So it is notable that when this car went in backwards, it performed better, which is what I kind of was expecting just based on the shape and the design. But you never know, which is why, as I always say, we have to go to the track. It's the only way. You can have ideas about which car is faster. You can think you know which car is faster, but until you actually put them on the track and see which car, for lack of a better term, steps up and performs, then you just don't know. It's just all speculation, and sometimes that's fun, but there's a reason why we go to the track. And I think that we had a nice little array of cars. Let me move this down so that it's not in my face. Yeah, that'll work. But yeah, we had a good assortment of cars, and I think that we had a couple of 20-year-old cars that performed pretty well, especially the Pro Stock Chevy drag truck. I really like that. Even with the wings, or the wings on the back, it kind of fanned out, and I left it out at the track, otherwise I'd show you. But it fanned out, and when it fanned out in lane number 2, it was rubbing against the sides of the sort of launch channel, the little where I lined the cars up. And it was strange because on the other side, it wasn't doing that. And it wasn't like a huge amount of space, but it was like just enough space that it was like rubbing against it. And you could feel it when I was setting it in. I could feel it kind of just rub on both sides, rub against it. But it didn't make any difference because once it launched out and got rolling down the track, the race still wasn't close. So maybe that was because the friction didn't affect it all that much, or because the Mazda Repu is pretty slow. So I don't know. But come to think of it, since we did have the drag truck that won, and then we had this Integra that won, it just makes sense and stands to reason that we should have a race between the two of those to find out which car is going to be the car that takes the day. So let me just check here. Yeah. All right. So we will do that. Let's see which of these cars. See which of these cars is gonna be today's champion. So I am gonna head back out to the track. Here we go. Okay, so now it's going to be Integra versus the Repu Mazda. All right, so let's see. Let me get these things lined up and take a good look. So we'll start off with them in the lanes where they both performed kind of questionably. So the Integra, we'll put that in lane 1. That's the lane where it crashed a couple of times, but it also made it down a couple of times, so it kind of broke even. And then we'll start with the Chevy truck, the Pro Stock drag truck. I'm gonna put that in lane 2, where it is kind of rubbing against the sides, and I don't think that friction, now that it's facing a car that's actually fast, I don't know that friction is going to be, I think it's going to be more of a hindrance this time around. But again, that's why we race. So we got the Chevy Pro Stock in lane 2, got the Integra in lane 1, and let's see how it goes. Three, two, one, race. The Integra crashes again. So now it's starting to happen with enough frequency in lane 1 that I'm definitely going to have to go back and take some slow motion video and see what the problem is. I don't know if it's the same thing that happened with the Firebird, where it was too light, or something, but there's no reason why it should be crashing as frequently as it does. So I'm going to line it up again. Now let me go get the drag truck, which made it all the way down to the end, no problems whatsoever. But see, this is actually, now that I think about it, even though the Integra was clearly faster than Evil Twin, I forgot that the Integra, it crashed twice consecutively and got disqualified. So really, Evil Twin was the winner in that other heat, but that's one of those technicality situations, because we know that it's definitely, if the cars are both making it down the track, Evil Twin is not faster than this other Integra. So I'm going to slide this on here. And now, if the Integra can't stay on the track, it is going to lose again. And so hopefully it'll stay on. All right, let's race them. Three, two, one, race. Of course it happens like this. So the Integra makes it down, but meanwhile, the Chevy drag truck, it crashes. So we've got to line them up again, because the rule, all about aerodynamics rule, going way back, is that if a car crashes twice consecutively, then it gets disqualified. But in this case, the Integra made it down the track, so it's fine. But now the pressure is on the Chevy truck, because if it crashes in this next race, it is disqualified. And that's not exactly the way that you want to end your race day. So you get these things lined up again. The Integra did just fine that time. Even though it doesn't, it's a tough car to get lined up properly. It just doesn't, okay, there we go. Nice, just as I say that. It lines up just perfectly. Slide this Pro Truck in there. Still don't know what's going on with this, with it rubbing against the sides, but it did, and that is not going to help it in this type of race. Alright, so I've got them both lined up again, and I am sliding this thing on there. We're going to see if we have a different outcome. Now, Chevy Pro Stock truck is in lane 2, Integra's in lane 1. If that Pro Stock truck crashes again, that's it. It's disqualified, and the Integra will get the victory. So let's see. Three, two, one. Oh, whoa, whoa. Gotta stop. I just noticed the tripod is tilted. I think from the earlier crash, the tripod was tilted just a bit. So got that taken care of. Let's go race. Three, two, one, race. And now the Integra crashes. This is getting a bit ridiculous. But since it hasn't crashed consecutively yet, it is still in the mix. So we've got to run these back and see if we can get an actual race where both of these cars stay on the track. I think what I'm going to do, just to see if things pan out any differently, is I'm going to switch lanes. Usually I don't switch lanes until we've had a completed race, but in this case one of the two of these cars keeps crashing each time, and meanwhile the other one, flows down the track and is looking around wondering what had just happened. So I'm going to switch lanes, see if that makes any difference, see if we can get an actual head-to-head straight-up race, because if the Integra the ball is back in its court. If it crashes, that's it. It's over. It's disqualified. So we've got the truck lined up. We've got the Integra lined up. Switching lanes. So the truck is in lane 1, Integra in lane 2. Let's see if they can stay on the track. Three, two, one, race. Well, the Integra crashed again, and therefore that's 2 crashes in a row. It is disqualified, and that's it. That is it for the Integra, and I am going to have to take some video and figure out what exactly is going on with that car, because it crashes at more or less the same point in the first third of the track. So that is that's definitely strange, but for a car to consistently crash like that means there's an issue. So I'll figure out what it is. All right, let me grab up these 2 cars and head back to the desk. Okay, well, that was interesting. This Integra, when it could stay on the track, did a pretty good job. Problem is, it wasn't staying on the track enough, and it lost the other race to Evil Twin because it crashed twice consecutively. And if you crash twice in a row, that's it. You're disqualified. But when it stayed on the track, it was definitely faster than Evil Twin. This drag truck stayed on for the most part. I think it only crashed the one time. And so that wasn't typical. But this is what I'm talking about. If you look at the... Hang on, let me switch over here. On this car, you can see it's like a V shape. It starts off, it's a little more narrow at the bottom, and then it widens out. Well, this part up here where it widens out, it actually, you can see like kind of the little flares right here. It just scraped just a little bit on the channel when it was coming down the track out of the launcher. But that didn't seem to stop it from making it all the way down the track, which is the whole point. I did want to see how fast it was in comparison to the Integra, but the Integra couldn't stay on the track. And the times that the Integra stayed on the track, the drag truck decided it was going to leave the track. So I don't know, but all I know is that the Integra crashed so consistently, so frequently, that there must be a problem. And that's good, because that'll give me a chance to go and investigate, see what exactly the problem is, and how exactly we can solve it. Earlier, it just was a matter of getting a quarter and some painter's tape. And that seemed to solve the problem with the old school Firebird. And that is how it goes. Using science, investigating, finding out answers to questions. And this is the kind of thing that I want students to ask in All About Aerodynamics. I want them to, at the end of the day, after we finish the races, to say, well, I wonder if, and then have some point that's related to sort of thinking more critically about why the car did or didn't perform a certain way. Was it the weight? Was it the angle that it was in the launcher? What is the direction that it was in the launcher? Was it the shape of the car, that the air was acting against it? There was more drag for it going backwards than forward. Who knows? But these are all the things, the kinds of questions that I hope students ask. But for you, if you are interested, if you think you know, hey, you know what, that Dodge Pro Stock truck, or the Chevy Pro Stock truck, excuse me, Dodge and Chevy people. But if you think that you know a car that would be faster than one of the cars that I picked today, all you have to do is go to atthetrack.live. Then you go down to choose a car, and it will take you to this web page, and from there you can scroll through, find the car that you want to race. Whichever car I pulled out, you might decide number 26, the Ford Fusion. Select that, put 26 into the chat, and I will pull that car, and we will set up a race between the car you picked and the car that I cracked open. So that is how At the Track Live is meant to work. We've got a few episodes under our belt, kind of working out all the little kinks. I think this is pretty much how it's going to be. Taking a look back, if there was a crash and a car that needs to be evaluated to figure out why it was crashing, and then cracking open some new cars, and then hitting the track. And if anyone else has a car that they want to see race one of the cars that I've cracked open, perfect. And who knows how long we'll be here racing, just racing cars. And now's the time to get in. Now's the time to get in because there's only a few people. So if you decide you want to see some cars race, you have every opportunity. If you wait, who knows what's going to happen in 6 months from now, a year from now, 2 years from now. You might have to use a super chat if you want to get your pick in to get a car to race. Who knows? But right now is the time to race. Now is the time to pick a car. Go to atthetrack.live. Go to choose your car. Take a look. See what's up. Also, we've added a calendar to atthetrack.live. So if you want to know when the next time is that there's going to be a live stream and live races, all you have to do is go there, check the calendar, and bang, you will know exactly the date and time of the next stream, and you will be good to go. So, with all of that said, my name is Coach James. I am the creator and lead instructor for All About Aerodynamics, and I am the host of At the Track Live. So, until next time, go to atthetrack.live, look up our schedule, look up our calendar, join us the next time that we race, and until then, see you at the races.